with the Tinker program, our first goal when you enter is to get you to 1 mil net worth. And so far in the Tinker program, we have certified over 70 net worth millionaires.
Your gym isn't broken, the fires are out, and you finally earned the right to say, what else? Today on Run a Profitable Gym, you're going to find out Two Brains' answer to that question. And I have to tell you, this is the fun part of entrepreneurship. I'm Mike Warkentin. Please subscribe wherever you are for more shows so you don't miss any content just like this. With me today, Joleen Bingham and Lisa Palmer. They lead Two Brains' Tinker program. They're here to tell you how this program can help you reach maximum success as an entrepreneur. Joleen, Lisa, welcome here.
Thank you.
Thanks,
for
Mike.
having us.
I'm excited to talk about this program because whenever I get to talk to you guys, I hear the most amazing stories about entrepreneurs who are doing unbelievable stuff. So the short answer is, who are we speaking to today? Who is this show for?
Yeah. So when we talk about Tinker, we talk about gym owners who want to continue to grow their business. We still want to keep you growing your gym. That's part of it, but are starting to think about what's next in terms of wealth, growing a legacy for their family, scaling their business. Maybe they want to do multiple locations or just add some adjacent revenue streams. And they still want to do all of this while maintaining a lifestyle that they love. So they want to be able to pick their kids up after school. They want to be home for dinner and do all these big things at the same time.
So this is a bit of a far cry from the days of like where I was working 12 hours a day. I'd shut the gym down at 8 o'clock. Next morning, turn it around, open it at 5 a.m. And I was struggling to pay the bills, couldn't figure out where to get clients from, and everything was on fire. Like that, this is the opposite.
Yes, complete opposite.
So what if someone right now is where they're listening, but they're where I was? Is this still an aspirational thing for them?
Yes, I think very much so. And Lisa actually has a really good way to describe this. So I'm going to let her describe this one.
Yeah, so I don't think Tinker is something that should, feel like it's too far-fetched for people to achieve. So I always describe it, it's a bit like building a house. So if we look at our two-brain growth phase, it's all about pouring the concrete in at the very bottom. It's very prescriptive. You don't want to mess too much with the different ingredients that you put in. But as soon as that foundation is really formed, what should happen next is we should start sort of talking with an architect. We should start forming our vision of what we want to build on top. And that's kind of what I would sort of align the Tinker program with. It might be that you're still forming those foundations. You're still pouring that concrete in. You're still building your business. But Tinker really is the next phase of entrepreneurship for all of the people who are in growth phase, still building their businesses. So it could be that Tinker is only 6 months off. Okay, but actually it could be that it's 2 years off. But everyone should have Tinker in their plan. They should be talking about joining the Tinker program and what that looks like.
I love it. And listeners, I've spoken to gym owners on this show for about 6 years now. And I can tell you, I've seen people reach the Tinker level very fast. People who come in with their gyms on fire like mine was, and they'll reach that Tinker level in like less than a year. Some of them, it's incredible how fast they move. I've seen others take a little bit longer. It would have taken me longer because of the problems that I had in my gym. But wherever you're at, you can reach these levels very quickly if you have someone to show you the path. If you're doing it on your own, to use Lisa's analogy, and you don't know anything about carpentry, it's going to take you a little bit longer. If you have a guide, you can dramatically turn your business around very quickly. So no matter where you are in your journey right now, this program could be for you, and it's super cool. Before we get into the details, I got to ask you a question about what's possible. Give me some boots on the ground.
Sure.
What has Tyler done? I want to know what some people have done in this program because our listeners might be blown away by some of this stuff.
Yeah, so Tyler has accomplished some huge things in the last year. In 2025, he had net owner benefit of $300K just for him.
That's not profit. That's what he takes home.
No, that's his take-home pay.
Yep.
1 million net worth certified. So we certified him as a millionaire. He invested in 3 syndications with a minimum of investment of $50,000 each in a syndication. He got whole life policies for his kids. He maxed out his personal investments. And that's just the financial side of it. Wow. He also bought his dream house, picked up his kids every day from school, was present every evening, which was one of his biggest accomplishments, he said, and opened another gym in a previous year. And 13 months in, it was hitting 30 to 35K months. So still focusing on that gym growth too.
Yeah, so that's just one example, listeners. In our show archives, I've talked to many of these people, and it's always incredible stuff. And sometimes it looks like very simple, like I replicated my existing awesome gym. Now I have two that are running perfectly, and I get fewer time or more time to myself because I have GMs. I've also talked to gym owners who have done other stuff like real estate investing, open secondary businesses, opening things outside the fitness industry, expanding. And what it always comes down to is they're making more money in less time, and they have greater personal happiness as they serve their communities. That's the short version of it. So that's what's possible. Tyler is one example. We've got a bunch of other ones coming up to show you some real stuff that's happening in gyms around the world. But I'm going to ask for a little bit of details here. So what problems does Tinker solve? That's the big thing. Someone's out here and they've got problems. What is Tinker going to solve them?
Well, I think with Tinker, we look at the actual entrepreneur. So with growth, we're very much focused on the gym business in its own right, but we find that the people who come into the Tinker program they've probably been in operator mode for the best part of maybe 3 to 5, maybe even 10 years. And in a great way, we've taught them how to pay attention to the finer details of their gym. But what happens over time is they kind of train themselves to think that's all they think about. And they struggle at the dinner table to switch off from their business. Everything revolves around the business in terms of their time management and their priorities. And so what we find is when people come into the Tinker program, what it's solving for them is we put them in the center of their planning. So we basically create a plan for the next 2 to 3 years, which centers around that individual, not just the business itself. So yes, the gym business will still form part of that plan because, as Joleen said, we want to make sure that that still remains profitable and it continues to grow, but not at the expense of other areas of their life. So Joleen will come to it in a minute, but, and go to a bit more depth of what the Tinker program sort of entails. But we focus on 4 main pillars. So we make sure that our Tinkers have solid goals in lifestyle. So what does their lifestyle need to look like in a year, 3 years time? What does their wealth strategy look like in 1 to 3 years time? Scaling, and then finally their leadership. Because once again, we find that when they've been in operator mode for so long, they're great at managing a team. But do they really have great leadership skills? And what we talk about in Tinker in terms of leadership is still being able to turn your back and work on other areas of the entrepreneurship journey, and knowing that your team are doing the right things behind you, that they're making the right decisions to still align with what your vision is in the business and your goals. Can they make those decisions? Have we empowered the team enough that even when you're not there physically, that they can still have a great guess of what the right decision is in that particular circumstance? So not that we're encouraging gym owners to leave their gyms, but certainly if you want to build out things like your lifestyle or wealth strategies, or maybe even scale up to multi-sites, you're going to have to put yourself in a position where you have a great team behind you who supports what you've already built.
Yeah, the way I always look at it is that for me, Tinker is choice. So you could choose to become a Tinker and still coach classes in your gym and focus on that business and making it an amazing thing. Or you have the freedom to say, I have a GM, that's all handled. I might go and work out in the noon class and I might build a business over here, or I might do real estate investing, or I might just take my kids to the beach, but the choice is mine. And so for me, that's what the program really offers is choice to do what you want to do, when you want to do it as an entrepreneur. So it's a really, really cool thing where all the options are open. Without getting into the nitty gritty exact details of each program, let's just lay out exactly how this Tinker program connects to the earlier stages of mentorship. How does this go? How does someone ascend into this program?
So I think, Joleen, should I hand over to you? Because we do have almost like a little checklist of kind of who would be a suitable person to kind of come into the Tinker program. So
when we're talking about it, obviously you start in stage 1 and 2. We really build those foundations. We go into growth and we talk about growing your gym, getting you to where you're making a profit, making an impact, making it home for dinner. Your gym is producing the lifestyle that you need. And then we start to ask, what's next? So if you're sitting here and kind of listening and nodding your head and thinking these questions and things that we're talking about are for you, we ask some questions for our Tinkers, and we say, is your business providing you a reliable cash flow? Right? Are you consistently bringing home money each month? You're not scrambling each month to pay your bills. Do you have economic stability? Now, that doesn't mean are you out of debt, because we do have a lot of people come in who've built businesses and are working on a debt plan. Do you have available time Now, that doesn't mean you're removed from your gym, because like you said, there are many Tinkers who have the freedom of choice. They want to coach. And that's actually a pretty big misconception that we get, that you have to be removed from your gym to be a Tinker. You don't. You just have to have the freedom, the time, or want to build that. You've got to have a developmental mindset. So when we look at people coming into Tinker, we don't want you to be in a scarcity mindset. In order to grow, you've got to be in this mindset where you're going to hit these gaps, right? You're going to hit these downturns, and it's how do we get out of them? Because I don't know a single gym owner that doesn't have a fire happen at some point. Not a literal fire, but an actual fire. Sometimes, yeah, you're right. And then we really want you to have forward thinking. Like, you're at a place where you can say, I want to look a year down the road. I need to look 3 years down the road. I want to plan what is happening in my life and not just respond to the things that are happening day to day. So once we get somebody through growth and they start asking those questions, that's when we start talking about ascending them into Tinker.
So that's basically, it is the third stage of True Brain. I won't use the stages because there are stages. It's the third part of True Brain mentorship, where you start, you come in, you get the foundation underneath you, you build and grow. And the third part is, I have built this thing that's pretty solid, and I'm thinking about what else I want to do, and I want to know how to do that and what my options are. That's where the Tinker program comes in. Here's a question. Someone's listening out there and they have this done. They're like, wow, my gym's running pretty good. I got a little bit of spare time to listen to an awesome podcast. Can someone get right into Tinker program without going through the early stages of mentorship?
There is a pathway. There is a pathway where they can come in right through Tinker, but we really highly evaluate, do they actually have those foundations?
Right.
Because we want you to be successful, and we want to make sure your business has those foundations. And so you would talk to Lisa or I, and we would look at your business. We would look at all the different aspects and say, are you truly Tinker ready? And so we have had some come in.
Yeah. And the important part there is just making sure that everyone has this foundation, because let's say you poured your foundation, you think it's good, but Lisa comes in and is like, there's a pretty big crack right there that we might want to fill in before we start building on top of this. That's the idea there, where it's not to exclude you because you're quote unquote not ready. It's because we got to have that foundation in place, because if you want to build up, it's got to be broad and solid. So that's the basic idea there. But if you do have that foundation and you want to talk about it, these two people can help you evaluate that and decide, am I ready to take this next step and, put the rocket ship on the launching pad. Talk to me now. A year of Tinker. What is a year of Tinker? Someone signs up, and what can they expect? How does this whole thing go? Because there's some very exciting developments in this program that I've seen.
There are. I think one of the things that we talk about Tinker is it is a little bit different than growth in that it becomes a mastermind. So growth is very focused on your one-to-one relationship with your mentor. Tinker now is a mastermind where those relationships are with more than your mentor. Your relationships are now with your peers. But we still offer the one-on-one accountability that we think is so important and feel so strongly about. So when you start in Tinker, we start everybody with the Tinker on-ramp. And that's about a 90-day program, really self-guided. You work with your coach, sets you up for success and financial foundations. It helps you plan your 3-year vivid vision so you know where you're heading. Because really, if you don't know where you're heading, you're just kind of floundering along. Most of our Tinkers come in knowing net owner benefit goals or gym growth goals. So we really teach you in that program to think and believe in bigger possibilities, right? So maybe that is your wealth creation plan. This year in Tinker, we've added a really exciting piece where we're adding in the 4 levels of leadership. Each quarter is focusing on a different area and growing in leadership in different areas. So quarter 1, we're talking about self-leadership, because really what holds most of us back from being successful in our business is us. If something is wrong, we're usually the root of it. And so teaching people how to fix it, looking at imposter syndrome, that gap and game philosophy. Quarter 2, we're going to talk about team leadership, because much like Lisa said, you have to have a really solid team who doesn't just check boxes, but who you've developed as leaders. Quarter 3, we'll move into peer leadership. So now leading others in our community, whether that's mentoring or partnering with other businesses. And then the 4th level is going to be that tribe leadership and building kind of your tribe around you. And so the massive success that we see, people who are massively successful in the program, is because they're really strong leaders too. So we've added that as a piece. Yeah. On top of that, they get weekly breakout calls. So every week they'll meet with their peers on calls to talk about different questions that they have. The really cool part of Tinker is that because we have a Europe and a North America group, you can go to either, you can go to both, and you can meet people in different cultures and come and apply that stuff to your business.
Ooh. So I've got to evaluate whether I want to go to Fort Lauderdale with you or Portugal with Lisa.
Yeah, so that's actually the next piece of it is those quarterly meetups. And I think this is really the heart and soul of the program is these meetups in person are where you build these relationships. I mean, at the one at Rogue in September, we had a tinker who found $84,000 that he was overpaying in taxes just from a conversation that he had with somebody. And so, like you said, we go to places like Fort Lauderdale, Phoenix, the Algarve region in Portugal. We've got Ireland coming up for Europe. We've been to Mallorca and Chicago. So really cool places, but it's the people in the places.
I've been in the room for some of the stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa. I'll just quickly say I've been in the room for some of the stuff and watched the synergy that develops between the Tinkers when they start cranking out ideas and talking with each other and solving problems. Like, hey, I want to do this. And someone's like, I've done that. Let's sit down, have a cup of coffee. And all of a sudden there's like a $200,000 idea on the table and it's amazing to watch. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, I was just going to flip it and say, actually, what we also see is people avoid mistakes as well.
That too, yeah.
So when we all meet in person, we run things like hot seats, where we put people around a table together and they bring forward ideas or opportunities that they're looking to explore. And one of the Tinkers brought forward an idea of buying into another business. And he had been sat on this decision for probably the best part of 6 months. And through the hot seat discussion, he very, very firmly kind of came away from that sort of hot seat with a firm no in terms of proceeding forward with this idea, which effectively saved him about £75,000, which is about $90,000. So it would have been a super expensive mistake to make based on some of the questions and sort of fact finding that hot seat table had for him. So I think that's what's great about the mastermind is, yes, it's great in terms of bringing new ideas to the table, but actually how amazing is it that people can avoid really big mistakes that otherwise they would have done if they were just left solo.
Yeah. And so you listeners, you'll see the mechanics of this. These meetups are super important. You're going to spend a couple of days in the company of elite entrepreneurs. You have to have the freedom to do that, meaning like you got to have some free time to leave your gym on its own to come meet up. You got to have the confidence to say, I can step away from this thing right now without having it burned down so that I can do some upper level stuff with some really cool people in a different spot. That also requires a little bit of financial stability, right? Because you got to travel and do this stuff. Yeah. All of that is taken care of in the earlier stages of mentorship so that you have this firm foundation where you can kind of do this really cool stuff. And I've seen, like I said, in these groups, really incredible stuff. And I saw an example of that too. I saw someone on a hot seat one time and she was talking about, her gym was super stable. And she said, I really feel this pressure to do something with this extra money and just, you know, and she was like on the verge of doing one of those I need to do something FOMO kind of decisions. And the group kind of said, you're good right now. You don't have like this A+ home run that you want to do. Focus on building this thing, build up a bit of a surplus. Let's talk in 3 months and let's come back and see what happens. And again, I know once she did that, I'm sure something really cool came out of the conversation, but the idea is find, you know, these people around you, including the experts that you guys bring in, who can help you figure out what you want to do, what's exactly right, and what is perfect for your business and your lifestyle, because some people don't want to do anything else. They just want to make sure this thing's going really well. I want to spend time with my kids. I've heard that just as often. I know, Joleen, you've got a bunch of kids. You spend a ton of time with your kids, and I love seeing what you post about because you have the freedom to do that. Give me an example of some of the speakers and people that you guys bring in, because there's some really interesting topics that are brought in by outside experts to help our gym owners.
Yeah, Lisa, I'll let you take this one. You've done some really cool ones lately.
Yeah, well, up and coming. So we've got Portugal in 2 weeks' time. Yeah. So we have Chris Williams coming to talk to Tinker Europe about labels. So he wrote a book on labels to legacy. But essentially what he's teaching the Tinkers is how to abolish our own self-limiting beliefs. So often we go through life and we put labels on ourselves and other people put labels on us, and we use those labels to define what we're capable of and what our opportunities should be. And so he's going to take the Tinkers through a really powerful exercise on how to rip up the script and redefine who you are as a person and what you're capable of. And I think that's going to be an amazing, motivating speech for all of our Tinkers. And they're going to go away from that feeling really pumped up and ready for new growth. I also have coming into the room some award-winning property investors. So a few of our Tinkers at the moment are just starting to think about developing some properties or maybe purchasing commercial, residential. And they're kind of working through some filter systems at the moment of what is the right right decision for them and their growth plan and their wealth plan. So these speakers are going to be great at helping them go through their figures, working out whether it's the right decision for them, whether it's not. And we also have some tinkers in the room that are already established in real estate investments. I've actually got one tinker at the moment who's looking to build a hotel. So he's got some really big plans on that. So there are 2 tinkers coming up. But in the past, we've also had a trader come to speak to our tinkers. What was great about that one is for 10 minutes a day, some of our tinkers were able to learn how to trade and develop a secondary source of revenue for their families alongside their gym businesses. And we've had lots of kind of like mindset pieces as well. So we had a specialist in meditation, because guess what happens with high level entrepreneurs? We kind of burn out here too, right? And that does physiologically change how our brain makeup is. And he was talking all about the effects. He's a neuroscientist from Cambridge University, and he was talking all about the physiological makeup of an entrepreneur's brain and what steps we can do to unpick and rewrite the script in terms of how our brain is formed and to protect us for future years to come. So we've had some really incredible speakers, as has Joleen in Tinker America.
And I just want to highlight Chris Williams is a tinker in North America who wrote a book and now goes and speaks. So it's another success story in our program. But he did this speech in September, and with us, and it was so impressive that I told him that he needed to go do this in other places because of the impact that everybody in the room said it had on them.
Share it with Europe. I love it.
Yes.
It's listeners, if you'll see that we're not getting our hands dirty with like the mechanics of raising rates, ordering toilet paper, hiring a general manager, coaching a squat in a class. That stuff is awesome. We dig into that a lot of times on this show in the early stages of mentorship. What you'll see here is that the Tinker program is directed at the big stuff, and that's not the mechanics of necessarily running a gym. Sure, our tinkers do talk about that from time to time, but this is like self-improvement, big thinking, leadership, the kind of stuff that allows you to go from what we call the founder farmer stages, the early stages of gym ownership, into this entrepreneurial mindset where you can do some really, really big things. But the stuff that gets you success at one gym in one location is not going to be the stuff that allows you to scale up into real estate investing, sports beverage companies, buying buildings, creating new products for new markets, or even replicating your gym. Like that's another thing that happens very regularly in Tinker, but it's not as easy as it sounds by just saying, I'll open a second location because Chris Cooper and a lot of people did that. It doesn't work that easily. It more than doubles the requirements upon you. So this is like big time leadership stuff and working on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about a lot of things that are available, but there is one big thing that we have not spoken about, and that is the resources that are provided to our tinkers. What have you got for them?
Yeah, so in Growth, we have a really amazing toolkit that has all the resources to grow your gym, grow your team, make more money, marketing, all of that. In Tinker, we now have a Tinker level toolkit where we talk about scaling your business. Maybe it's to multiple locations. Maybe it's becoming a partner in another business. We have leadership resources. We have investment strategies. We have how to save money on taxes. And that was actually a couple speakers we brought in too. And we've found that tax savings in itself usually pays for Tinker for most people.
80,000, not one person, right?
Yeah, 84,000. Yep.
Paid for the program by a lot.
For several years. And then we talk about lifestyle and how to wake up not hating your business every single day. So this Tinker Toolkit just has a lot of access to resources. But the thing is, we don't want you just going in and clicking on it and spending your time going through that. You will create your 90-day plan in Tinker with your coach. So we'll break the year into quarters. And so during that quarter, whatever your goals are with your coach, they'll help direct you to the right resources. So that's where that one-on-one mentorship is still coming in with people, is that guidance of here's who you need to talk to. Here's the right resource for you. Don't get sidetracked by the shiny objects or the squirrels running by. Use these things.
And that's two-brain gospel right there, is you're working one-on-one with an expert. You're triaging your business and figuring out what do I need exactly right now. And then you're saying, the mentor says, here's the resource, do exactly this, go through this, here are your steps, here is the metric we are going to measure, let's track the results and repeat as necessary to build an incredible business. That happens right from the very early stages of two-brain mentorship all the way into the elite levels at the Tinker level. Let's talk about what some of these tinkers have accomplished. We talked about Tyler in the intro. I want to hear about some of the other stuff because I'm always blown away by the stories. Who else has done some amazing stuff recently?
Yeah, go ahead, Lisa. Why don't you start with Europe?
Well, I think, some general statistics would be great, first of all. So with the Tinker program, our first goal when you enter is to get you to 1 mil net worth. And so far in the Tinker program, we have certified over 70 net worth millionaires. And in the last year alone, we've certified 17. So it's a really, really powerful program. We've grown in terms of country representatives. So in Europe, we have over 12 countries in the Tinker program.
United Nations,
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
Totally. And, on average, in the first year of Tinker, we see an average gym growth by 80%.
Wait a sec. So the
30%.
original gym,
So sorry.
80% growth by joining your program.
No, I'm just sorry. 80% of Tinkers grow their gyms by 30%.
30%. So wow.
So 30%. So it's a really powerful program. And just to give you an example of that, I've got one gym in Belgium. We've talked a lot about mindset and lifting the roof on mindset in the Tinker program. So I know you said, Mike, that we don't talk about rates too much and things, but actually in reality, mindset and mindset shift does influence rates increases. I had one Tinker this year in Belgium who increased his rates by 40% and reworked his whole business model because he had the total conviction in his vision and he had the support of the group behind him to go forward with that. So that was a huge success. And I think he lost about 8 members during that process. So if you think about actually how much net profit he got from doing that sort of rates increase, it was huge. And we saw him on the Two Brain net owner benefit leaderboard a couple of months ago. So he has done incredibly well. There's a couple of other huge stories that we've had in Tinker Europe. So we had one UK gym who spent 3 weeks in South Africa. He made that decision 2 weeks before he went. He took his family. And what was so cool is when he was there, he kind of became friends with a South African gym owner. And now he's almost mentoring that South African gym owner on how to be a better business and create more of a legacy for himself. It was so successful that this summer coming, he's going to go for 3 months back to South Africa with his family. And, what that shows us is he's built a gym back in the UK that can stand on its own without him necessarily being physically present, and he can build his legacy beyond the 4 walls of his gym. We have someone in Germany who has actually, I was her growth mentor, and she became pregnant when I was sort of doing one-to-one mentorship with her. And I said, well, what about your wealth strategy? What about your maternity pay? And what about your 5-year kind of financial plan? And she didn't have anything. And so she joined the Tinker program, and within 6 months, she had a really kind of firm plan on buying an investment property in Sweden. She surrounded herself in the Tinker program, people who are already doing like and similar investments. And now she feels totally content that she has built herself up for success for many generations to come. Now she's sort of about to give birth and build on her family.
So you've laid out there
really
like lifestyle, peer leadership,
Yeah.
freedom, all this incredible stuff. Sorry to cut you off, but I just got to jump in. Like that is just incredible diversity of success in this program.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Joleen's got some big stories as well, don't you?
Let's hear them. Roll them out.
Yeah. So we have a variety of things. And I think that's one of the really cool things about Tinker is that it's so focused on your specific goals. So I've talked a lot about investments and wealth strategy. We have a Tinker Damon who didn't make any long-term financial investments in traditional. He invested in himself. So he grew a new business to teach other gyms how to implement adaptive fitness programs and certify their staff. And now he's traveling across the country to run seminars on it. He's spoken internationally on it. And so he says, I might not have made, big financial investments, but I invested in the most important part. That was me. And he's going to have a long-term legacy from that. We have Luke, who is a group of 3 and Tinker as partners, which is a really cool part of the program that you can bring your business partner in as a Tinker partner. Each one of them hit 100K net owner benefit. They grew their personal training from 0 to 21K. So still growing their gym. He increased his net worth by 80,000. He also increased his family camping and road trips at that same time. So as he's increasing his finances, and he participated in a Navy cycling challenge of 1,700 kilometers, which is just mind blowing. And then I think when we're talking straight gym growth, I think that's still important to highlight what Lisa said, that 80% of them grow their gyms by 30%. Anna is also another Tinker partner. Her and her husband are business partners, and in that, they increased their revenue by 40%. They went from 2 full-time staff to 5, so really increasing their leadership. They received the Two Brain Business Gym of the Year in their Metrics Award, and they're now in the process of acquiring a second location as well. So they're doing that piece of it. So just really big things, but I think as people are listening to this and they're like, well, that's beyond what I can do, they all had to start somewhere. These are not people who did this day one. They did this by learning. They did this by talking to other people. They did this by creating their vision and saying, that's where I want to go, and then using the resources to put the plan in place. So I think when we tell these really big success stories, we have to look at it like these are all achievable, but you can't do it right away.
Yeah, and I see legacy projects there. I see lifestyle stuff. I see financial stuff. And that's a really cool point. We should just not gloss over this. You have Tinkers who have built a stable business and decided to expand and look upwards and outwards and start moving up. And yet their businesses below them are still growing and succeeding because they've put the processes in place to allow that to happen. And that's when you're at that CEO stage where you do not have to coach the classes if you don't want to. You don't have to order the toilet paper. You've put this thing together and you check in once in a while, maybe on a GM who's doing most of the oversight, and the thing still keeps growing. It becomes that so-called golden goose, right? And then you can keep doing other things and you have this incredible choice. I love the story of Damon, creating a legacy project, because that's something I hear more and more about in Tinker is like, what do I want my legacy to be? And you can't do that when you're focused on scraping the gum off the rowers in the gym, which is what I was doing for a lot of time. They're thinking about how do I change my community? How do I change the health? And let's be real here. We're talking wealth and legacy building. You can't change the face of your community if your gym goes under. How many times have we seen that in the community? We see these horrible things where great coaches, great gym owners, they just can't make a living. Their gyms go under and 150, 200 people suddenly lose their place to train. They head back to the couch and bad things happen. And that's just a horrible thing. So the whole Two Brain program is set up to build these amazing facilities that change their communities, allow their owners to expand their impact and influence, and amazing things start to happen. Give me one more example of someone who's doing one of these legacy things. Is there someone else off the top of your head that I'd like to hear one more of those?
Yeah, so actually, she just started the process this week. We have a gym owner, Ashley, who is really passionate about women's health. Specifically, she has a program that she calls Heal and Seal, and helping women heal diastasis. And so she has a gym that is female focused called Strong Her. She believes so much in it that she just signed paperwork to franchise her gym. So she doesn't want to go and open more locations herself. She wants to help other people own businesses that help people in the same way that she does. So she feels her impact and reach can be bigger that way. And it also protects her time with her family and her kids.
Wow.
So she chose that pathway. And I literally signed the papers on it this week.
Oh, that's cool. And I know her, and I don't think she has a lot of energy, but we'll see if she can pull it off. No, I'm kidding. She's one of the most high energy people you're ever going to meet. So that's going to be very cool to see what she does. Guys, we're going to wrap this up here shortly. What should someone listening do after listening to this show? How can they find out more about your program? How can they talk to you? What do they do if they want to take the next step, whether they're inside Two Brain or outside?
So the easiest way is the easiest way is just to email us and ask for more information. And we meet with two types of people: those who are ready to go now, or those who are thinking that they're nearly there. So maybe they're 6 months out or even a year out, and we help them map out a plan to get them there. So my email is lisa.palmer, Palmer, at twobrainbusiness.com.
And mine's Joleen.Bingham at twobrainbusiness.com.
We'll get those in the show notes for you guys.
Yeah, and if you're not sure how to reach us, you can always just email Two Brain as well, right? The general Two Brain, and they'll connect you with us. We want to make it easy and accessible to have a conversation with everybody.
And if you're currently in the Two Brain program, easy way, talk to your mentor. Your mentor knows these guys, and they'll be happy to say, I'm making an introduction. Lisa and Joleen here is an awesome client who is ready to do some amazing things at the next level. Guys, thank you so much for laying this out for everyone. And I hope to see in a year, someone who listened to this show say, I joined, here's what I accomplished through Tinker.
Yeah. Thanks for having us,
Thanks, Mike.
My pleasure. That was Joleen Bingham and Lisa Palmer. I'm Mike Warkentin. This is Run a Profitable Gym. Please hit subscribe before you leave so you don't miss a single show like this. And thanks for watching.